It's the grand jury. Yeah, it's the grand jury's decision. That's coming out at 3 o'clock. So they're going to
Maybe I should hire the
somebody get to report.
facts and lead agency so they can bring in more assets. The Army, just get it down to March 3, shoulder to shoulder. And that's, the city's in this area. Surrounded,
How you doing?
What I don't know is how do we see this?
Start time.
You need this one, right?
Yeah.
Yes, record.
Put that up there.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, Deputy Commissioner of Operations for the Pennsylvania State Police. To my left is Major Joseph Reed, Area 1 Commander in the eastern part of Pennsylvania, and to his left, Lieutenant Chris Parrish, Station Commander at the Blooming Grove Station. We're here this afternoon to talk a little more about the continuing investigation into the shooting incident at the Blooming Grove Station, where 2 Pennsylvania State Police troopers were ambushed by Eric Matthew Frein. I want to first thank the community and the residents in the Pike and Monroe County areas for their cooperation and continued support of our operation. Based on our investigation, our search efforts continue to be focused around the Pike-Monroe County border, more specifically the Barrett and Price Township areas. As I have previously indicated, we believe that Frein has prepared and planned extensively for months or maybe years for this attack and his efforts to avoid apprehension. We continue to canvass the neighborhoods in Barrett and Price Townships for useful pieces of information and are asking anyone who has information which might be useful to law enforcement to contact our tip line at 866-326-7256. Specifically, we're requesting information on any vacant or seasonal homes in the area which may have been disturbed in some way. And by that I mean unlocked sheds, garage doors that aren't closed completely or seem to be ajar, pet doors that are obviously not locked, broken or open windows, those types of things that would be apparent to someone living in the neighborhood and again might give us some indication that an individual could have gained entry into a structure. We have executed search warrants on several vacant properties and are utilizing locksmiths in the execution of those warrants so as not to damage the property in our ongoing search for Frein. We are also seeking information on any shelters or bunkers that Frein may have constructed or used in the past, and we're asking people to please report that information to that tip line that I gave you the number for. Additionally, we would like to talk with anyone who may have seen Eric Frein's 2001 Jeep Cherokee Sport prior to Monday, September 15th. And specifically, we're looking for sightings in and around the Blooming Grove Station, the Delaware State Forest, and the White Deer recreational areas. We've also had several possible sightings that are being investigated at this time. We continue to follow up on other leads, and we track his movements. Our search efforts are refocused according to that information. I would remind people that this is an ongoing police operation, and we continue to pursue Frein based on the information available to us in that Pike and Monroe County area. And our tactical teams are searching for Frein in those areas where those tips are being provided, and we hope to locate him there. We continue to find evidence of Frein's presence and have found several items he has abandoned or hidden for possible future use. Some of those items include Serbian cigarettes and soiled diapers that we have found in the area, among many other things. I'd like to directly address the residents of our search area. I'd like to thank you for your patience and understanding as this operation continues. Our troopers are doing their best to balance safety concerns with the needs for residents to be able to travel freely to and from their homes. We're also asking people to use common sense and avoid going into the wooded areas in and around Barrett and Price Townships, as well as the Delaware State Forest, while this operation continues. We continue to ask the public for any photos or videos previously taken from trail cameras in those areas and which may contain images of Frein or other suspicious activity. We have some photographs up here of the actual Jeep that Eric Frein was operating following the shooting. These are photos after it was removed from the swamp area, another photo in the swamp, and also an empty pack of cigarettes recovered out in a wooded area. We found a number of those, and we ask anyone that has seen any of those in a wooded area. He smokes, it's a Serbian brand of cigarette, and rather unique. And we're asking anyone that may find packs like that to not disturb them and give us a call, and we'll be right out and recover those. At this time, I'd be glad to take any questions you might have.
Who had
Colonel,
the
has any
sightings?
law enforcement officer actually seen him at any point, or are you still just calling these tips or reported sightings?
We have had sightings by law enforcement officers as well at a significant distance.
So you're saying you definitely have seen him.
We are, again, we're getting those reports back. Law enforcement officers have reported, as well as members of the public have reported sightings.
Because you say you're getting closer and closer now for several, you've been saying closer and closing in for several days. Sooner or later, you can't be close without being there. I'm not being facetious about it, but have you had contact with him? Are you sure you know where he is, or you think you know where he is?
We believe he's in that area that I've described on the Pike-Monroe County border, based on those sightings, based on the items that we have found in the area. Again, we're following up on any tips, but again, we have to go with those sightings. They do seem to be reliable. Not every sighting, but many of the sightings do seem to be reliable, and again, we're finding items that lead us to believe he is living in and around that area.
What's he wearing when you've sighted him? What's he dressed in? Is it a Serbian outfit or something else?
Black clothing has been reported by several individuals.
When was the most recent of those confirmed sightings?
I'm sorry?
When was the most recent of those confirmed sightings by law enforcement?
It's been a little over 24 hours ago.
So when you say law enforcement had sightings of him, what happened afterwards? How did you not pursue him after? Or I'm sure you did pursue him, but
there have been pursuits of this individual. Again, the type of terrain and cover that's afforded in there, he has had the ability to disappear. Any sightings that we've had that occurred by law enforcement, again, we're at a significant distance. There wasn't an opportunity to just take a few steps and apprehend.
but you were close enough to make a positive ID that it definitely was him?
Close enough that the officers that reported it to us indicated they believe it was him.
Any indication he's getting any help?
I do not have any indication of that at this time.
What evidence do you have that he left the Blooming Grove area and is now in Monroe County, other than these sightings?
Well, the sightings, as well as a number of items that we continue to find, that indicate to us that he is existing in that area.
Was there a trail from Blooming Grove down to Monroe County?
We have found items between the Blooming Grove area and the location that they're the area that we're searching.
Do you think he's leaving those items to taunt you, or to leave maybe a false trail, or he's just throwing them away, littering?
Certainly anything is possible, but for the most part, I believe, again, we're talking in some cases soiled diapers. It's something that, with the sniper training that he received or self-taught, That is one of the techniques that we know that he's read about, is to be able to stay in position for a longer period of time. He believes that is something that he should do. Why he is using those the diapers, I wouldn't want to speculate why he thinks that's a good idea now. I can only tell you that we believe that he is.
You mentioned shelters and bunkers. Have you identified any specific ones that you think he's used over the past 12 days?
We've found a number of shelters throughout the state forest, and it's still under investigation whether or not he used those. We do some testing and things on any items that we find in order to try and determine whether he was present in those.
Is there a specific way to search for something that's underground?
There are techniques that we use. We have our tactical people looking for those kinds of things. It can be anything from using sticks, ski pools, or something like that to probe the ground as you go through a particular area, on up through other sophisticated equipment that can be used to look for.
There were reports that he may have dug tunnels. Have you found any tunnels?
I'm not aware of any tunnels at this point.
Do you think he's moving at night and laying low during the day? Is that the theory?
We've actually had sightings at various times of the day and evening. So,
if an officer sees him, even from this great distance that you've been describing, what is the protocol at this point? What are law enforcement agents instructed to do once they have a sighting?
The officer would have to be able to positively identify Frein. If he can't, he needs to pursue Frein. Either way, we would first try to apprehend him, but lethal force is authorized if an officer is able to positively identify him.
Was lethal force not possible during these long-distance sightings, or was it not a positive enough ID?
I would suspect that the officer did not feel that he had a positive enough ID. That's a very serious action to take, and certainly our troopers and other law enforcement officers have shown tremendous restraint. They want to be certain, and our desire, our goal here is to capture Frein if possible.
Going back to the beginning, is there evidence that he targeted these two troopers specifically, or was this a random attack?
That's all still part of the ongoing investigation, and I really couldn't speculate right now until we've completed that investigation. And completing that may involve an interview of Frein if he is captured.
So there's nothing obvious that suggests that he targeted these two officers, or one of the two troopers, for any particular reason?
At this point, I couldn't say that he targeted either of those officers, but again, we're still combing through a lot of information, still conducting a lot of interviews, and trying to determine that with any certainty which way, whether it was just more of a random attack on troopers at that station or specifically targeting.
As far as his appearance, it's been almost 2 weeks now. Are you recommending anybody to look maybe that he might have grown a beard, or I don't know how he could have shaven on the run like this?
At this point, I'm not prepared to change our description of him based on the reports that we've had, and again, for the most part, they've been from a significant distance, but I don't have enough information that would lead me to change that description.
Over the past 12 days, has he reached out to communicate to anybody from the time of the incident until now?
I don't think we're going to go into those details right now as to any communication.
Can you confirm that the family is cooperating with the investigation?
The family is cooperating.
Are you bringing them the items that you're finding?
No, there's no reason to bring it to the family.
Do you have any idea how far he
There's been
traveled
chatter
on
in the
foot?
community that he's been captured on home surveillance systems and maybe trail cams. Can you address that?
Again, we're asking for any photos or videos that people may have, and we will carefully review each of those. I'm not prepared to confirm that anyone has captured it.
Can you comment on any possible cell phone activity?
No, I can't.
Is the area still, is it 2 to 3 square miles, or how big is it?
I would still say it's generally about that area. Based on items that we have found, we've adjusted the perimeter a little bit, but we're still in that same general area and still actively searching it. We're adjusting our tactics, our search tactics and our perimeter tactics based on the information that comes in. So it's very fluid, but our troopers are doing a good job, and the supporting law enforcement that we have here are doing a good job with trying to secure areas and allow our tactical teams to operate.
And there's no other place where you're looking besides that area?
Oh, no, I'm just telling you that's where our efforts are concentrated, but we are following up on other tips and pieces of information that we generate. So In fact, I would say that the investigation spans multiple states, again, based on pieces of information that are received. What I am telling you also is, though, that the vast majority of our efforts are focused in that area, but not to the exclusion of everything.
So now is there some credible evidence, or some credible information that he may have left that area and may be out of state even, or beyond that?
No, I believe our efforts are rightly focused where they are right now, but again, we're not going to ignore any other information that comes to our attention on the off chance that there is something there that would be helpful to us.
Do you have any idea how far he's traveled on foot?
You talk about the sightings from distance. Do I take it that no shots have been fired by law enforcement?
There have been no shots fired by law enforcement.
And also, to go back to the question of the diapers, have you done DNA tests on them to prove that it is he?
There is testing underway.
It hasn't come back?
No.
Can you talk a little bit about the challenges of communicating this? There have been some complaints among people in the community that they hear, conflicting information about how close you guys are to finding him, what they should or shouldn't do, whether they should be vigilant or go about their lives. Can you address that?
Well, again, that's really the point of one of the points of coming out here and addressing the media. I hope that the residents are getting this information. Yes, we do need them to be vigilant. We need them to report that information. We don't want them to be overly concerned. We want people to be able to go on about their lives. But I understand it is a challenge. I mean, they've got potential homicide suspect in their community at large, and they have law enforcement operating in a very heightened sense in their area as well. So, I mean, they've got a lot of police presence in those communities. It changes the way people live, and again, we're trying to be as accommodating and non-disruptive as we can in order that they can still come and go from their residences and go about their daily lives.
Have you found cigarette butts as well? And have you tested the cigarette butts for DNA?
Beyond what I've disclosed here, I'm not going to, at this point, disclose other items that we have found, but anything that we find is being thoroughly processed and as evidence.
And you said at the start you found cigarettes. Is that used cigarettes, or have you found packets that he may have stashed?
Well, what I released right now is that we found packets.
Packets with unsmoked cigarettes.
Packets that are empty.
Oh, empty. But you've not found any full packets.
Again, I'm just disclosing this right now.
What have you found that suggests that he could have been planning for years? Is there something very elaborate out there that you found?
What we found is through interviews, various notes and things like that, and the types of material that he's been reading, interviews of people in the community, family, and interviews of others who are involved in some of the reenactments and various activities that he's been involved with.
So there's nothing physical in your pursuit that you have found that suggests it took months or years to create this as part of his escape plan?
When you say nothing physical, again, there are some notes, there are writings, there are different things that we've looked at. I'm not going to go into specific detail about those items, but taken as a whole, is all of those things are what lead us to the conclusion that he's been planning this for some time.
Do you think this is Plan B, that Plan A was to get in that Jeep and get out of town and go wherever? And then this is Plan B, he screwed up or whatever, went into the water, and then took off on foot?
I think that's a very real possibility, but again, that's all part of the ongoing investigation.
So you believe this is Plan B that we're playing out now?
Again, that's certainly a real possibility.
Do you have any idea how far he traveled on foot?
I'm sorry.
Any idea how far he traveled on foot from when the Jeep was found?
Well, from the Jeep down to this area, depending on the route that he took and everything, anywhere from 15 to 20 miles on foot, but it would have been over a couple of days period.
In the writings that you found, is there anything to indicate that he's willing to give his life for this endeavor?
I'm not going to go into any more detail on any of the evidence that we have at this point. I think we've gone about as far as we can with that right now while this continues.
We saw trucks from a security company, a few different trucks going. Were those just the locksmiths? Are there any other ways in which that company could be helping you, installing additional cameras?
I'm not familiar with the trucks that you saw, but those were probably the locksmiths that you saw going in there. We had a number of them working with our teams.
Okay. Are more cameras being installed in the woods, or are you just relying on?
I'm not going to talk about any other techniques that we're using in this investigation.
Do you still think that he, and maybe I'm not did he act alone, or based on these writings and notes or communications? Obviously, you're trying to determine if he's getting any assistance.
At
Do
this
you think
point,
he had the assistance before or after this? Or?
At this point, I have no reason to believe that there is anyone else involved in this attack. But again, we're constantly receiving new information and reviewing that information, and that will all be part of an ongoing investigation. If we determine that someone else was involved in the planning, or, as we've said in the past, someone is involved with assisting him while we're attempting to apprehend him, then of course the appropriate charges will be filed.
So the writings and notes were like diaries, or they weren't communications to people?
I'm not going to further characterize those writings. I'm telling you that as a whole, the body of information we have available to us is what leads me to believe that he has been.
Can you get to the root of what he wants? What is his problem? What touched him off or tipped him over the edge? What is he against?
I suppose that's only a question that he could answer at some point in the future. I can only speak to his actions to this point, and we're working hard to understand what he may be thinking in order to help us apprehend him.
Just to clarify, when you found the weapon, you said it appeared to be an AK-47. Are you able to confirm that now, that it actually is an AK-47 that was found?
The weapon that I had a picture of here the other day?
Yes.
That is an AK-47 style weapon, yes, sir.
And the confirmed sightings, did he have the .308 rifle that he used in the shooting and then confirmed sightings that you mentioned earlier? And does that hamper your search? As when them confirmed sightings are saw, does that hamper your advancement to try to chase him?
I really can't go into detail as far as anything else that he may have had with him at the time of those sightings, but certainly we know that he's armed, and certainly that factors into the pursuits that would occur, foot pursuits and so forth, and it's another reason why we've asked the public not to try and apprehend him, simply to contact us when they do have a possible.
At what distance did you guys, the law enforcement, see him? Was it 500 yards, 1,000 yards?
No, it wouldn't have been that far, but I couldn't give you a specific distance, but it was a significant distance. It was
but closer than 500.
Can you tell us what day it was that he was cited by law
he's
enforcement?
been cited a number of times.
By the law enforcement officer.
I couldn't tell you offhand. It's been about 24 hours or a little better, as I said, since the last sighting.
But multiple times by law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you think he's seen you?
Oh, I'm sure that he has seen law enforcement. There's no doubt that some of those sightings appeared to us to be him probing the perimeter that we had set up, and so he was, I believe, looking to see where he could get through that perimeter, but staying as well concealed as possible while doing it.
Do you think your perimeter is pretty? I mean, can you get through the perimeter? Do you think he's surrounded, basically, assuming that's him in there?
We've had to move perimeters a little bit. Again, I've described the terrain to you in the past, and it's extremely rugged. It's rocky, very dense vegetation, ferns that are thigh deep, mountain laurel. Just many things. So it's very difficult to establish an absolute perimeter around those areas. Where we can use a highway, of course, that helps us. But in other cases, it poses a bit of a challenge. And of course, when there's a sighting, trying to get enough law enforcement to an area and encircle that area quickly enough that you could stop someone who may be in a flat-out sprint trying to get out of the area. You can understand, I think, the challenge associated with that.
Given what you know now, are you closer to catching him right now than you were 24 hours ago?
I wish I could tell you that with any certainty. I do believe we're in the right area. I believe he is in that area, and I believe we've thrown a lot of resources and a lot of talented people at this situation. I think that you make your own luck, and I hope that with everything we've brought to bear on this matter, that we're making that luck, and that we're going to get that break here in the very near future and end this so that the residents in that community can go back and resume their lives.
You said that he's targeting law enforcement, but at some point do you stop and reevaluate and wonder if he's becoming an increasing threat to civilians who are in that area as the strike zone?
Again, we can only look at the information that we have available to us, and with everything that we have right now, and based on his actions and based on our experts looking at that, we have no reason to believe that anyone else is directly threatened. I would never presume mind causes him to stay engaged with law enforcement. And, you know, and in some ways, I almost think that some of this is a game to him. You know, some of the sightings have occurred under circumstances where he kept himself far enough away that he knew it was very unlikely someone could get to him, but almost made himself visible, whether to a resident in the area or to a law enforcement officer.
Has he fired his weapon?
We have had reports of gunshots on several different occasions.
Do you know if he was seeing a doctor or a psychiatrist in any? Was he seeing a doctor or a psychiatrist?
I couldn't disclose that information to you right now.
Again, the gunshots, you think they were gunshots directed at law enforcement?
We don't know, sir. We have reports of gunfire on several different occasions.
From him? That gunfire from him?
We have reports of gunfire in the area on several different occasions.
When was the last time those reports?
Last night.
Were those gunshots at the time he was spotted?
In some cases, they were in close, the timing was fairly close to the sightings. In other cases, we have simply had gunshots, and we have investigated those without a sighting of him.
Maybe
one more question.
I'm sorry.
Did you have a visual of him actually shooting, or heard shooting and assumed it was him?
Well, again, I haven't assumed it was him. What I'm telling you is that we've had several gunshots in the area, the search area, over the last number of days.
Any shell casings found?
I'm not going to...
These are
There's a
not
lot of
gunshots from
local
law
chatter.
enforcement
There's a lot of
officers,
local chatter that
they're not gunshots from law enforcement.
there's a lot of local chatter that the two officers may have switched shifts, and this may be some type of finalization of a personnel vendetta. Is that accurate?
I've heard those rumors, but to this point in the investigation, there's no information that supports that I'm aware of.
Had family and friends reported a mentally deteriorating mental state over the past months or years? You talk about his planning. Could he have been mentally deteriorating during that time?
You know, at this point, again, I really don't want to go into detail about specific interviews, but all of that information has been gleaned, and again, our experts are taking a look at it, and that's assisting them in their assessment of him and possible future actions by him.
Can you give us some idea of how much this has cost, the total cost of the operations?
I'll be able to give you a better idea of that once this is over, but quite honestly, that's not been the focus of
and also, could you give us any update on the condition of the injured trooper?
He is continuing to make steady progress. He remains hospitalized, but in good spirits, and you know, our troopers are regularly visiting and supporting him and his family, and you know, he stays in our thoughts and prayers.
Is there an estimate on the number of officers at this point who have been involved in this search from the start up until now? The total number of manpower here?
Oh, I'm sure that number has had to approach the very high hundreds to 1,000 members of law enforcement.
Do you have any information about a loud sound that was heard in the search area today? A lot of residents described it as sounding like gunshots.
Again, we've had a number of reports. I haven't gotten feedback on that specific report at this time, but on almost a daily basis, we have reports of gunshots.
On the topic of the cell phones, you're saying you can't answer whether that's been of any use in terms of pings or any kind of tracking.
That's correct.
You're not answering that.
Were there any notable thefts, like of food or things that he could use?
You know, I don't really want to go into those details, but that is exactly the kind of information that we're looking for from the public. You know, it's always a concern that an individual on the run will be able to get access to food and other supplies that would assist him in staying on the run.
Do you believe he's been using his weapons to shoot animals for food, or?
We may be able to answer that better once we have apprehended him, but I can't answer that.
How was he
right now.
avoiding detection by thermal imaging from the helicopters at night?
Well, there are a number of factors that influence thermal imaging, but certainly the canopy on the trees hinders it. It doesn't prevent penetration of the thermal image completely, but it certainly makes it much more challenging for the equipment. And as far as any other techniques, you know, again, I really don't want to go into anything else that he might be attempting to do, but It's, in my opinion, it's a matter of time. We're in the right area. It's a matter of time until we apprehend.
How extensive are the underground features of that particular terrain? Are there significant caves, tunnels, that sort of thing?
There are many caves.
For miles and miles, I mean, or
not necessarily, a lot of extended caves like that. It's more, small caves. A lot of areas we have bears in many of those caves, and certainly a factor in the searches as well. We've kicked out quite a few bears with our tactical teams while they've made their sweeps through the area. And there's a lot of other wildlife and things there, but there are many outcrops and crevices and things that makes it very difficult to search the area and be certain that you've checked everywhere. I don't know that you could be certain that you've checked everywhere. We're doing the best we can as we put our teams through there, and very carefully going through those areas and trying to look everywhere that we think you could hide.
About how large is the search area in terms of square miles, do you know?
Again, it varies. We do change perimeters periodically based on the information, but I would say it's a few square miles, no more than 5, but probably less than that. Now, that's the primary area, and again, to be clear, we continue to search other areas beyond that. It's just that that's where most of our efforts are focused right now.
Eventually, you get across over to Route 402 in that area. How far have you progressed towards that area in different populated zones?
We've searched quite a few areas. I really am not going to go into all of the specific locations that we have searched right now or that we plan to search, but you're right, it is a very large area. There's a lot of forest out there, a lot of rugged terrain, and a lot of opportunities for him to hide. So we're doing our best again to try and contain him in an area where we believe he is.
How do you approach that area, getting out of Monroe County and back into Pike?
I'm not going to talk
for all the sightings, was he wearing a hat?
Some of the sightings have indicated a hood.
Given that this is going on so long now, it's obviously taking a toll on law enforcement. Are you considering requesting federal assistance, further federal assistance, or further types of resources or equipment that might be beneficial now that you've been out there for almost 2 weeks and you have a much better idea of what you're up against?
We have requested and have received considerable federal assistance from the FBI, the ATF, the Marshals Service. They have been very generous with their support and have brought a lot of equipment and personnel to bear on this matter. So I'm very appreciative of all the support we've gotten there. There is nothing that we've asked for that we have not received at this point. Additionally, we've received a lot of support from neighboring state police agencies, from some local agencies that we've requested people or equipment from, and we continue to draw from our agency. We have a pretty large police agency, and we're able to draw people from across the Commonwealth, in support of the search efforts. So we're trying to rotate people in and out as this goes on, and we've got to get our people some rest, again, because the searching is so challenging. And so we bring them in for several days at a time and rotate people out.
In the event that he's able to tune into any sort of reporting from us, what would you want to say to him directly?
I'd want to tell him it's time to surrender. Before this gets any worse for him, before he gets hurt or worse, he needs to surrender. We're not going away, and we will be here until we apprehend him.
Aside from the federal agents, who picks up the cost of all this when you talk about the local units that are helping? Is the state going to reimburse those local municipalities the cost of its people?
The vast majority of the cost right now would be borne by the state police. We have not utilized a lot of local resources. We've utilized some, and we've utilized some equipment. But the vast majority of the efforts have come from within our agency. There is going to be a large cost there, and no doubt there's a significant cost to the federal agencies that have participated.
Would you envision reimbursing those localities for the hours their officers are giving to you? Or?
Again, that's not something that I've even taken a look at right now. That'll be down the road once we have this operation completed.
Can you talk about any evidence removed from his parents' house today?
No, I can't.
Did you think it would take this long?
I've been involved in a lot of operations over the years, and one thing I've learned is not to ever try and predict how long something might take. We're here for the long run. We're committed to it. Our men and women are highly motivated, and they are determined to apprehend him. And I will tell you that we'll be here until we do.
I'm not questioning your capabilities, but I would have to think that perhaps you're a little bit surprised at how tough this has been.
I'm never surprised in an investigation like this. I'm optimistic that we'll end this as soon as possible, and again allow people to get back to their lives in these communities.
Is it true that the order still stands that if he is police encounter him and he doesn't surrender immediately, use of lethal force is authorized?
Lethal force is authorized upon positive identification if he is not actively surrendering. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.